Hi again, this is Doug Williams with Viva Las Vegas Autos bringing you another incredible car. This is a 1957 Chevrolet Corvette fuel injection convertible. And I'll tell you, there's quite the story behind this car. This car has had a very incredible life, and it was brought back to life by a person who took a lot of time to make this car special. And as you read through our auction and go through the details on this and look at the pictures of the restoration, how it came to be, and where it's at now, you'll be amazed at the labor of love that went into this car. In 1957, there was about, I think, close to 6,000 of these built, but only a few were built in fuel injection, and even less than that were built in what they call a big brake car, which this has the big brake option. This car is also a numbers matching car. In other words, the engine went with the car when it was originally out of the factory. The transmission is not in the car. We got a 4-speed in it, but the original 3-speed that came with the car is still with the vehicle, and it does go with the car when it sells. But this car is pretty incredible in the restoration it went through. Roy Gibson, Gibson, I think is his name, built this car. He had it, started it back in, I think, 2004, and he bought it from an owner that had had it for close to 3 decades. He paid $45,000 for basically a drivable or running complete project car that had been hit in the front and hit in the rear and pretty mangled up. So when you look at the restoration of this and what went into this, it's pretty stunning to see the car here as it is now, and that it was brought back to life. So let's walk around this thing and show you how beautiful it is. The fiberglass on this thing is beautiful. When you look underneath this car, this is where you see the big brakes. There is that right there is the items that that's like the intakes for the air for the big brakes, and behind those at the very where it goes into the brake itself, there's a vent there, and then when you see the actual brakes, like I said, we have pictures of how he rebuilt the braking system on it. It's pretty doggone incredible. But like I said, a lot of work had gone into this vehicle. Incredible amount of work had gone into this vehicle. Straighten up our camera there. But all the bright work has all been newly redone. Now the car has on these spoke wheels, because originally the big brake cars came with the 15-inch wheels, which we also have a set of 15-inch steel wheels that go with this car. But these particular wheels were part of a restoration idea that Roy had, and wanting to meet the criteria of another car that had been put out with the wire wheels as well. So that's why they're on there. But we do have the 15-inch steel wheels that this car would have come with originally. This car is done in the Aztec bronze, and it is absolutely gorgeous with the cream insets. And everywhere you look on this car, it is just absolutely beautiful. Very nice lines down the side of the car. They're gorgeous. These tires are brand new. This restoration only has about, probably less than 500 total miles on it. The front windshield glass is not original to the car, but Roy said that the side glass was. It's dated a little bit earlier than the car. The hard top on the car is dated from a 1960. This glass number here, right there, shows that the top was probably a 1960s top or a late 59. So it's obviously not original to the car. The frame underneath this car is a 1958 frame. At least that's our best guess. There's no VIN on it. On the frame, at least that we could find. There might be one if you separated the body from the frame, or it has a VIN stamped in at the top of the frame, but we couldn't get a camera in there or see it. But the rear end of the car was from a donor. The front end, the whole front clip, is brand new to the car. And when you see the pictures of the undercarriage, it's absolutely gorgeous underneath as well. The car had an entire nut and bolt restoration on this thing. All new seals, all new gaskets. The cream interior is absolutely stunning. The underdash and where the VIN is there is original to the original car. And so this car was really brought back to life when you look at all the stuff. It was an original radio delete car also. Also a heater delete as well. Of course, the car was originally a 3-speed too. And like I said, we do have that transmission. You'll see pictures inside the trunk where it's beautiful as well. Let's open up the hood. Show you what it looks like in there. Now, our owner had that we're selling this car for bought this car about close to 2 or 3 years ago. He bought it as an undocumented car, yet there was a lot of documentation that came with this car. We got a 3-inch binder and another 1.5-inch photo binder full of photos of everything put on this car. He also paid to have a full inspection and certification done on this car, which meant going through the numbers on the engine, numbers on the transmission, numbers on all the parts that have numbers on them, including, you know, the generator and the distributors and everything that would normally have a number on it, including the fuel injection system. And all those numbers tie in with the VIN number and the date, predate the VIN number and production of the car by just a few days or a few weeks. So it's pretty safe to say that the car is an original. The VIN number matches that of a fuel injection, and the engine block matches the date code correct for this particular car and that particular VIN number. So the certification was well spent in finding out about this car and what it had to offer. All your exhaust manifolds and everything like that go with this engine, were originally with this engine to begin with. So a lot of neat things that happen with this car. The rear end on this car, the rear differential, is a later differential. I think it was a 1961 if I remember the notes. Either that or a 62, but I think it was a 61. So it's had some parts put into it, but the builder who did this car really went to great lengths to keep it as original as he possibly could. And if you look at the little details on everything, just lots of little details everywhere you look. And of course the chrome is just absolutely gorgeous on the car. So let's take this car for a ride. Now, to talk to you about the running of this vehicle. Our client, when he got it, put it in storage, but didn't really properly prepare it for storage, so the fuel that was in it went bad. Then he sent it out to have it serviced to get it running properly, and the person that he sent it to suggested that he rebuild the engine because there was low compression in one of the engines. He spent an enormous amount of money rebuilding the engine after it had already been rebuilt from Roy. We have receipts of that, but then he got it back and it still had bad compression. So we sent it out again for him to have that checked over. The guy swore up and down that he had done the build on it, and we believe that the build was done, but because of the bad fuel in there and then running it over the next 2 years with bad fuel, he just never got it dialed in right. So it does run and it does drive, which you're going to see here in a second. But whoever gets this car, I would recommend highly that somebody go through it mechanically and to bring it to a standard that this car should really be in, which is perfect running order. But I don't think it'd take much to do that. I think it's just really just cleaning out the fuel system and getting the carburetor dialed in to where it's tuned properly. So let's take this thing for a spin, see how it goes. If you're over 6 foot, which I am, and you try to get into a 1957 Corvette, you gotta know it's a trick. So let's spin this thing out. You can see it starts right up. Really easy, actually. I don't think the fuel gauge works. The other gauges might work. Looks like the temperature gauge does work. But the interior is absolutely gorgeous and all brand new in here. So let's take this thing for a spin. Got 30 miles on this car, which, like again, I said, I think this is more like close to 500 since Roy built it, because when he sold it, it had about 200 miles on it, he said. And that's about 3 years ago, so I'm going to get somewhere below 500 miles on the car. Like I said, she does run and drive. I would not drive this thing much more than I'm going to drive it, but she'll go around the block. That's what we're going to do with the car. Transmission again was rebuilt, and just be nice to see this thing tuned to where it ran great. We're not going to drive it a lot just because of that. There we go. What I always tell my clients too when they're looking at the car on auction is if you have questions about what you can buy this car for, don't send me an email asking me that silly little question like, what's your bottom line? What's your price? It's on an auction. I have so many people ask me that question, and my price doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I want for the car or what I'd like to see the car get. I can tell you what the market is on these cars. I can also tell you that a big break 57, there's only 51 of them ever built, so that makes it very super rare to even find a car with big brakes in a 1957 and then have it be fully restored like this. But like I said, this is going to be something where if you want to find out what it's worth or what you're willing to pay to offer to buy this thing, what you're going to have to do is call me and pick up the phone. Let's have a conversation. I'm a reasonable person. I like having conversations with my buyers, and especially with those that are willing to make an offer and not waste the time of just wanting to know what the car is worth. It's only worth what somebody's willing to pay for it, and we'll find out what that is when somebody makes an offer and I accept that offer. So that's what it's going to be worth, is what somebody's willing to offer us. So any questions on that, just give me a holler at 702-353-7500, and I'd love to have a conversation with you. My name is Doug Williams. This is Viva Las Vegas Autos, bringing in another great classic car. We'll see you guys.